Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
All right. Hello, Becca. We are
Hello,
live.
we're live.
I keep losing track of the days. Happy Tuesday.
Yes, Tuesday. It
Yep.
is Tuesday. Feels like a
How goes
whole week
it?
gone by in the last 2 days.
How was Colorado?
It was good. It was short. I almost didn't get home.
Was it you
I
leave? Did you leave Friday? You left Thursday and got home Sunday?
yeah. So for everybody that doesn't know, which is probably everybody because I didn't really say it much, but I went home for my dad's 70th birthday. His birthday's May 18th. And fun fact, he was 35 when I was born, and I'm 35 when he turned 70. Um, so
Wow.
he's
Could you,
exactly twice my age, plus 17 days.
yeah, I was gonna say, could you imagine having a kid right now?
No,
Your It would be his
third kid.
third kid. Yeah.
Yeah, James was 7 or 6, 6.5, 6. So, yeah. He was so surprised. He had no idea we were coming. Me and James both
Oh,
flew
I didn't know
in.
that was a surprise. Wow.
Yeah, me and James both flew in. James actually got there on Thursday. James is my brother. He's 41. Yes. He let's see. He got there actually Thursday morning and like got home in a rental car, parked the car at the neighbor's house, and then like hid in the basement for half the day. And
My
then,
God.
and then came and got me at the airport at 9 p.m.
Oh,
And
he wanted both of you to surprise him at the same time.
yeah, and got he got me at 9 p.m. and thank God we got the rental car because I left at 4 a.m. on I left the well, I was supposed to leave the airport at 6 a.m. and I had to return the rental car at 4 a.m. So that was fun. Uh and Yeah, and we like both walked in and James like they had planned a surprise birthday or not a surprise birthday party, but a birthday party for my dad. And they were gonna do a rib cook off and like have sides and stuff, which is something they do often anyway because they have Bible study. And so we used that as the cover. And my brother walked in and was like, "Hey, do you have room for 2 more people at your party tomorrow?" And I'm pretty sure he cried a little. He was really tired because they had just gotten back from a theater, like a musical theater thing, a play that apparently was terrible. And and yeah, so and then we all went to sleep.
Was your mom was in on it, I suspect?
Yeah, my mom was in on it, my uncle knew about it, and my sister obviously. And yeah. And like James even called my dad in the middle of the day and was like, "Yeah, I'm just heading to work and blah blah blah." And like totally
Oh,
threw him
sneaky.
off and I had just got in the car, so I'm sure he never expected me to show up because I just got in my car and was texting him like pictures about it. And so, yeah, it was good. And then on the way back, I missed my first flight and barely made it on my second. So that was great. Flew Frontier. Their seats are very hard. If you fly Frontier, make sure you take a butt cushion. Um,
They're very hard. They don't recline either.
no, which is fine, but I never recline because I think it's a very, you know what? Reclining is just a really tricky situation. Um, and reclining takes a really confident person. That's all I have to say. Um,
I do like a slight recline. I feel like there's some leeway in the amount of recline you do.
I think that they've done podcasts on reclining in airplanes, like the mental load that it takes to recline. I've heard podcasts talk about it.
That's
Anyway,
what, yeah. Yeah.
it was good. Of course, had the laundry list of things to do, a few things that my mom always has us do stuff around the house, so we did that. And got some pool time in,
Mm. Had to get the
7:30 in
pool
the
time.
morning. Got to get the pool time in. No, it was good. And I started making pots again. I figured that my hands are gonna hurt anyway, might as well just fucking do it. Um, yep,
You're limiting how many you're doing, though. You're not
I am.
doing
I'm
a
not gonna make a
crazy
ton.
amount.
No. And like doing it one step at a time too. Like I don't think part of me was like, man, you should just throw 100 cups and then paint them as you go, but I'm not gonna do that. So
Yeah. You got a day job to worry about. You got to make sure you're
yeah,
tip top or close to tip top for
yeah.
using your
Car
hands
is
on a
still
daily basis.
running. Car is still running, so that's good.
Nice. So you did drive it to the airport? And
I drove it to my friend's house who lives nearish to the airport, and then she drove me to the airport. And then since my flight got delayed, she couldn't pick me up, so I took an Uber to her house. That's kind of the best way that I've done it. But still, an Uber costs like $30. It's fucking ridiculous.
how much would it have cost to park at the airport?
Probably $30. But I didn't know I was gonna have the car, so I didn't. Next
Yeah,
time I'll probably park at the airport.
yeah. Some of them have like off-site parking that's a little cheaper, and they still offer a shuttle, and you save
Dude,
like
I
a
think
couple
their
couple bucks
on-site
a day.
parking isn't that bad.
Yeah, ours in Cincinnati, I think is cheap. Well, not technically Cincinnati, but um, is probably $10 a day at the
Yeah,
cheapest,
I think
maybe.
it's like 10 or $12, which honestly, if you're only there for 3 days, it's cheaper than a fucking Uber. You don't have to tip them either.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah. Also, I feel like we should say the review that is applicable to me saying fuck all the time.
Ooh, do you have it handy
Um, I just put
as you're
moisture.
putting stuff on your face?
I just put, yeah, I'll find it really. Also, I know we talked about this a while ago, but I wanted everybody to know that I have been listening to the show What Went Wrong uh like religiously, and if
Me
you like
too.
our podcast, you will love their podcast because
I
not only
won't guarantee that. Maybe they don't like movies.
well, yeah, if you don't like movies then obviously not. Um but they are
They have a good
just
dynamic.
they're a very good dynamic, and I feel like they're just like us. And they even have an episode where they talk about reviews, and they just keep talking about reviews, and it is so fucking funny. And I adore them.
Is it titled that way? Something about reviews? Because I haven't seen that, but I usually just pick them by
No,
the movie
that's
title.
because you're not going in order, and I go in order.
No, I'm just bouncing around to the movies that I know.
Yeah, I did notice that they are really heavy in like horror films. And as somebody who's not a huge fan of horror, it's really interesting to listen to them talk about it because then you kind of get a feeling of the movie without having to watch it. And I know you love that type of stuff, but um
I'm listening to the Shining episode today.
oh, I just listened to that yesterday.
Yeah, it's pretty cool hearing the ins and outs of some of the processes. Like they were talking about Steadicam and how it evolved and how traditionally,
Yeah,
there wasn't the technology for that kind of a filming style where they're actually following somebody. And these days you have like the gimbals, I think is what they're called it, where they like stabilize.
yeah,
You can have your phone on it and it's very stable. And they
yeah.
didn't have that technology back in the day.
No,
And it was pretty cool to hear a little bit more of the
very cool.
technology.
Yeah. Okay. Also, one of the episodes she starts and she's eating a salad, and I was like, and then she like didn't watch the film they were supposed to watch. I was like, this lady is me, only more polite. Okay, so our our newest review is a 3-star. And it says long but entertaining. It was on May 1st, 2025. Thank you for the birthday present. Lulamina. And it says, I like this podcast. It's a little long with a lot of rambling, but interesting that it's pottery related. I like to listen while I work or in my car. I assume they don't have kids because there is a ton of cursing, and unfortunately can't listen to this with my children in the car. That is correct.
I would love the tagline of our podcast to be "Wheel Talk Podcast," quote unquote, pottery related.
Pottery related. No, we do not have children, and I think that that's actually better for you because I'm pretty sure that if I did have kids, I'd cuss a lot more because I'd be like holding it back all day. Actually, I hold it back at work, so this is pretty equivalent to that. I think I've said fuck probably 45 times since we started, so.
Yeah, it's also marked explicit for a reason.
Yep.
But I suspect this is a newer listener.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the review regardless.
We do appreciate the review, and just like how they say on what went wrong, we appreciate that if you do a 2-3 star to tell us why. Love that. Like, listen, your thoughts are valid. But also, we can't change things or talk about how we're not going to change things if you don't tell us. So,
Right. Or you can email us or message us. Like,
yeah.
These days, it's really hard. A lot of the podcast apps don't really have review options that I know of. So I don't know how
Apple. Yeah.
Apple, I know Spotify has like comments. I don't know if those are used historically. Yeah, it's like per episode though.
Oh.
So I don't know how I'm not going in there and checking comments of episodes in Spotify, but
like I want to know how many 1-star reviews we have.
It's hard to tell because it just got a bar. It doesn't.
Yeah, it looks like there's more than 3-star reviews. 2-star is the hottest of the reviews, other than 5-star.
I feel like 3-star is the riskiest. Like you're just straight at like I'm willing to leave a review, but it's just so like straight average that's where the star rating is.
Yeah.
2's a little ballsy too. I don't know, but.
I don't think 2's ballsy. 2's like, hey, I'm gonna listen, but also fuck you. You know, like Renan Narana says, snooze fest. This podcast could easily be shaved down about 25 minutes.
Agreed.
But you know what? Have you ever heard Ryan talk? We're not even, we just started this podcast and we're 45 minutes in because we've been chatting. You're lucky. You're lucky that we
I was going to say, we're not 45 minutes in. We've been talking for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of it off air.
A lot of off air because we have to debrief on certain things that we cannot chat about on the pod. You know?
Exactly.
And then we have to get all of our like hatred out before we hit record, and then we say hi.
There's not that much hatred.
Wait a second. I asked you how your day was. How are you doing?
My weekend and day was fabulous because I was waitlisted for a couple shows. I contacted them earlier in the week, did not get off the wait list, so I actually had a free weekend. I was considering firing a soda kiln, but I'm actually going to do that this weekend with Memorial Day coming up because we have Monday off. So I'm going to. Do you have Monday off as well?
I do.
Nice. And I'm going to probably fire it on Sunday, and we're going to go that route. So got a lot of studio time in. Weather was perfect. I worked outside on the patio for my throwing for some of it.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. So very productive weekend. It's kind of nice to have no like hard commitments on the calendar. I even made good to-do list for the weekend. Got a big chunk of that done. Even I think a couple house things. And yeah, that's what's going on. And I'm working on sponge holders right now. I feel like every time we've been recording and I've been working in the studio, I'm working on sponge holders, which
I feel like
makes me.
sponge holders are something great to kind of like do while you're talking because it's a lot of monotonous work, you know?
Yeah, I think I like doing this more than probably putting handles on mugs while we're talking. I think it's a lot drier of a process for sure. I often put off the putting the cutouts and stuff on these. So yeah, that's what's new with me. Finished Art and Fear,
Nice.
ready for our talk. We're doing that tomorrow,
Have you
but
returned it
next
from the
week for you
library?
all.
Have you returned it from the library? Could you do that, please?
I have not, but I needed to
You
take the notes tonight
you're
of.
literally you're literally a pod like an audio book off. You're awful. Some of us need to re-listen to it. Okay.
Okay. Are you on the same one that I am? Because I
I'm the
usually
number.
if I see there's a hold on it, I will release it. But
I'm like the number one person on the wait list. I'm pretty sure.
what mine's in the Kentucky Libraries Unbound. Mine's
Yeah,
not in
yeah,
the
yeah,
Louisville.
yeah. If you just fucking return it, then I can use it.
It doesn't say it's on hold. It doesn't say anybody needs it. I did not take notes of all my bookmarks, so I need to do that.
Are you fucking kidding me? Can you just
I'm not
screenshot
just
them?
screenshot what?
The bookmarks? Can you take the book? Can you take the notes tonight so I could listen to it at work
That's
tomorrow?
what I. That's on my list to do tonight after we get done.
Okay. Thank you. I
Is to
love
take the
you.
notes. Yeah. I can't. Yeah, I can't just cold talk about a book without writing anything about it because I'm just going to be saying like I think I remember this from the book, but it could have been from something else that I heard, and I'm like that doesn't apply at all. Yeah.
Maybe I'm with Indianapolis. Fuck, I don't know which one it is.
I mean, I rented it from multiple different sources. At one point, I rented it from the Louisville library. Louisville doesn't have as many days. I think it's only 2 weeks is as long as you can have it. In the Kentucky one that I've got for Northern Kentucky is 3 weeks. And I think Cincinnati, you can also do 3 weeks.
You know, I think that actually I lied to you and I apologize. I Mine is through the Indianapolis library. So whoever is listening in Indianapolis, if you could please stop listening tonight. I don't understand how somebody can have that book for more than 2 weeks. It
Because
is
they don't listen to it because I just
hours
all put it
long.
off.
Like I've listened to it twice already. I just want to listen to it again so that I can remember it, but it's fine.
I mean, are you desperate enough that you would get the
Buy it?
physical version and you could
No,
rent, like, no?
I didn't like it that much.
Do you have that like Audible account? No, I don't mean. I mean rent the physical copy and read it physically, like not physical.
Like
I mean
go
the
to the
ebook.
library and rent it?
No, like use the ebook version. Library. Doesn't Libby have the physical version that you can flip through? Because I can. Yeah,
Let me see, actually.
maybe not physical. Ebook is what I meant to say, not the audiobook, but
Yeah.
the ebook. Yeah, because that's what I did for.
Probably read it tonight.
Yeah, I mean I don't know how fast a physical read is, but I wish I could take the bookmarks there and then have them converted to the physical spots.
There's got to be something,
And
you know?
then it could say, and then, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't know exactly what I'm wanting to capture, but I don't know.
Okay, I found the
Regardless.
physical copy and I borrowed it, so maybe I'll read some of it tonight.
Yeah, I just have that as a backstop. Yeah, we shall see. We shall see.
Well, the Indianapolis Library has it, the physical copy to borrow if you want to.
I think ours has a physical too, but I'm just gonna write it. I don't have that many bookmarks. I think I've got maybe 15.
Okay. Anyway, now that everybody's listened to our logistical bickering,
We also don't know what the next book's gonna be, so if you all are planning that, I don't know if we're gonna decide on the episode, but hopefully we've figured that out before.
yeah, I think it would be fun to do how to win friends and influence people.
Hmm. Be a good option
It'd be great for selling, you know?
for selling. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Or
I've
just
actually put in a
work
couple.
environment or
Yeah.
yeah, anything.
Yeah. Cool. So first, we should talk
We're doing
about our favorite kilns.
they're not cold. They're definitely warm. You might even say hot. Actually,
Kilns like
fire
home.
I've been firing Erica's well by the time this is out, Erica's gonna have given them out, but she's been making a bunch of magnets that she's stamped little blue jeans. Let me see if I can grab a couple and show
They're
you what they look
so
like.
cute.
Oh, did you see them?
I saw a little picture of her painting them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so she's been working on a lot of them, and she was firing the last batch of them. We fired them up in the plug and fire. Here's like the cutest ones.
Oh my God, they're so stinking cute. Who is she giving them to?
It's for her birthday party, so she's gonna give them as like party favors, kind of.
When is her birthday?
Friday.
Okay,
Her party is Saturday.
I'm gonna put it in my calendar that her birthday is Friday so that I can remember.
So she's got a bunch of different colors. And it's just a stamp with the shape of jeans. And she, put different glazes on them and we just fired them all in the plug and fire. So got a ton of them. I think she made like 70 or 80 or something, just to be safe.
So fun. If she's willing to, could you get me one?
Yeah, do you have a preference? Do you want
Nope,
the ones with the okay.
no preference.
All right, I'm sure I can get one.
It'd be fun to put it in the van.
Yeah, and it's magnetized, so I'm sure you can stick it on something.
Yeah, I got a bunch of magnets up there. Anyway, kilns. Kilns, kilns, kilns. Kilns, 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 kilns.
Mm-hmm.
You know what the cool thing about L&L kilns is that, you don't have to be like a super kiln person to fix them and work on them. Because sometimes when you have like a brand new kiln, and it's the first time to do the elements and you've never done it before, sometimes you're like ripping out elements and you break bricks or not bricks, but like where the element is held, and that just doesn't happen with an L&L because they've got those element holders, and that's pretty sweet. And it has the Genesis controller, so you don't have to worry about figuring out how to run it. And
Mm-hmm. It's
that's
got the
like
easy
that's
set it and forget it programs if you just want to do the straight up slow 04 glaze for a low fire maybe, or medium speed cone 5 no hold. They
yeah.
got those options, or you can customize it and use the custom settings and set your ramps and your holds and all that stuff. So if you need something a little more customized, you can go that route, or you can keep it simple.
Yeah, easy peasy.
And then as you're changing out thermocouples or um, any of the wiring for the elements and all that, you can use their resources on their website. They have a great support section. I'm sure if you had questions about an error and you couldn't find that online, you could contact them and find out exactly what that's about. I actually have a pretty good owner's manual that I got with mine, and I've looked in there a couple times to see kind of what a couple errors that I got um, before. So easy peasy.
Easy peasy pumpkin squeezy. It's the easiest kilns and the funnest kilns.
All right, Becca, where do you go to find out all that information about the kilns, troubleshooting, all the above?
Kilns.com.
All right, do you want to do make of the moment today?
Oh yes. Full transparency, we did an episode recently and we're not releasing that. We're gonna do a remake, and so these are the ones that we did from last week so that they're still up on the page so that you can go find them. The first is shit balls. The first mine is City in Bloom Ceramics. And
City in Bloom Ceramics. We saw their work in
City in Bloom?
Georgia.
Yes. And you almost got no, you did get a cup. No, you didn't. No, you did.
I did not. I did not.
He regrets it. It has okay, like the pieces are very like illustrative. They're really cute and like they're just really cute, but also the one that caught my eye is one that has this, it's butter and it has the tablespoons, but I think it's got like the tablespoons on the side, and I just think that one looks so good. And God, but all the other ones are really cool too. Like it's a lot of, I want to say they're maybe underglaze transfers because they look really consistent, and like different colors, a lot of primary colors, and they're just really cool, you know.
Yeah, so that's Meredith Bradley is her name, out of Georgia.
Hmm.
We visited the studio that they were working in back, I think probably 2 or 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
So the work has definitely evolved a little bit since then. Okay, so that's Meredith, and mine is DePaul Pottery, Depauw. It's Rachel DePaul out of New Orleans, and her work is a lot of bright colors, but it's not. It's like muted a little bit because a lot of the clay bodies, from what I see, is darker clay, like a brown clay backdrop with colors added on top and probably underglazes. And then there's some texture on them, so it's kind of scraped through, so it's not just a big block of color. There's a lot of carving involved. There's some fun mug shapes. There's some fun like geometric design aspects to the forms as well. So yeah, that's Rachel, and it looks like she's doing some different art shows, and yeah, it's just really fun work. A lot of bright colors.
I think next week I'm gonna do her husband.
Oh, really? I don't know that partner in crime.
He's linked in her profile, so I'm not gonna give
Yeah,
anything away, but
it's a
yeah.
little more sculptural.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if they sell it art shows together or if it's yeah, it looks like they kind of have
Oh,
both of their work maybe at the
yeah, I don't know.
Jazz Fest. That's cool.
He has a real teacher vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
New Orleans. All right, that's Rachel. So look those up on Instagram, give them a follow. Rachel's at about 4,500 and Meredith's at about 5,500. So
Yeah, go follow them. We need like a little jingle for Maker of the Moment. Oh, you know how like always when Tim Ceramics like posts something, he goes like, love, follow, or like, follow, share, or something like that. We need
Right.
something similar to that. I don't know. Anyway,
We'll think on it.
we'll work on it. What are we talking about today, Ryan?
All right, so this idea came up semi recently. I was kind of thinking about it. It actually sparked from I share sales online of shows, and some shows do things differently. Some are doing flat booth fees. Most of them are flat booth fees, but some of them are commission based, where you've got a central checkout. You're paying a commission to the studio that's hosting you, or the venue that's hosting you, and you're getting a percentage. So it's kind of handled more like a consignment sort of, but it's kind of all handled in one day. So this is kind of a discussion of what's the differences in those kind of shows. What are you kind of paying for? How is it kind of like, how does it impact you as an artist, or how you're like actively participating in the show? And maybe some differences of, do you have the opportunity to negotiate, or like, are there some options of different ways that other places might do it that are not, what we're used to? And I think each place kind of has their own way of going about collecting their show fees and handling all the staff and everybody it requires to actually put these shows on. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. So commission based events or shows, what we think about them, how they differ, and which ones
Let's
we've kind of participated in, stuff like that.
let's outline the two types of ones that we've done.
Okay.
Okay, so while I charge this stupid cat feeder. Okay, so you have done ones where you go in, you set up, you don't physically have to be there. It definitely improves your sales if you are.
Yes.
And they pick up a piece. It's got a price on it. They take it up to the desk, like to the checkout.
It's got a price and my name on it, so I have to tag every piece that's at my table with my name somehow on the bottom, so that they know
Right,
when they
price in your
ring it
hand.
up whose it is. Yeah.
Yep. And then they wrap it up, bag it up, and that's
Off
it,
they
right?
go. Yeah. I get a check afterwards. Yeah.
And then you get a check at the end.
Right. So they take out the commission, they take out the sales tax and any processing fees or whatever, and they just give me the remainder after their cut is taken. Plus
Okay,
I pay
great.
plus I pay a table fee to be there. Just a straight flat fee.
But it's usually quite low.
It's like it's like 20, 25 bucks.
Yeah. Okay. So I have done something a little bit separate than that, little different. And this is not as common. I would say that Ryan's version is much more common than this one. So when I went to Leavenworth, I showed up. There was a checkout booth, and I would hand the person, like, they would come into my booth, they would say, I would like to buy this, and then I would total it up, put it on a little ticket, and then they would go on their way. They could shop around, and then they could take all of their tickets to the booth and pay for all of their things, and then they come back presenting that ticket, and then I hand them their item.
Oh, so the ticket's marked like paid or something like that?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So it's like the second half or whatever. And and then I would bag up their item and box it and all the things. So it's not the same as you in the sense that I have to pay for all the wrapping and all the bagging and shit like that. Okay.
Yeah. Are you still paying for the booth or paying a percentage or how?
Yeah, $25.
$25 for the booth?
Yep, and the percentage is 20%.
Okay. So a little bit more on you in this circumstance than me.
Right. Okay. And
I've
Ryan.
also done a third one that's a little different.
Oh,
But
good. Yes.
and this is more like a pop-up situation. So I've done this two ways. So this is at a local coffee shop. They have a day where they allow people to come in and they say, we have this area dedicated. You can set up your stuff and we just take a percentage. So you're handling the point of sale and then I'm handling the point of sale, wrapping it up and everything, and then I give them a percentage of my sales just for
Right.
being there. So there's no table fee. I think it was a 70-30 split. So I think I was paying them 30%, which is kind of like a
Okay.
commission, kind of like a consignment, but I'm physically there for one day for maybe 4 hours. It might have been less than that, but I can't remember exactly. And then I did one with that same place, and they said, we don't have room to have you set up on a whole table, but we do have like a shopping area that we want a little bit more of your work here. I already sell mugs there. And they were like, do you have a few other pieces that you can bring, a few other mugs that you can bring more than we
Right.
have room for buying wholesale from you? And then if we sell any, we'll split it with you. So we did a 70-30 on those. So any of those consignment pieces that were brought in just for that day or just for that weekend, I think it was for a weekend or 2 weeks or something. They gave me 70-30 split where I get 70% and then we kind of go that route. And they just tacked it on to what they owed me from the last wholesale order that I did where they still needed to pay me. So yeah, that was a little different. That's more like a pop-up situation.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit different. Okay. And your we forgot the first question. We skipped.
Okay. Maybe we can bookend the episode with a question.
Okay.
Stick around for a listener question that you might relate to with bad weather shows.
If we get to it.
There we go, a little preview.
Yeah, but what if we don't do it? Like, what if we get sidetracked?
We shall see.
I told you that I'd like to be done by 8.
That'll give us incentive to keep going. All right. Well, not keep going, but to keep it moving. All right. Okay. What were you gonna ask?
I wanted to. What is your position?
Well, it's changed a little bit because my position is that a flat percentage, like a 20% of sales, you're disincentivized to sell a certain amount because I'm kind of comparing this to other shows that are kind of equivalent in how much you pay for a booth fee. And to a certain extent, there's kind of a cap on how much you would typically pay for a booth at the equivalent level of show and audience and everything like that. So let's say that this kind of a show, you do it, you set up, it's pretty easy. The clientele is there, they're bringing clientele, you're advertising for it as well, helping get people there. And, there's a certain amount that I would expect to pay for a booth. Typically, if it's a 2-day, I would probably expect, no more than maybe $300 for that equivalent show. Historically, not more than that. Maybe plus an application fee, so maybe $450, or what did I say, $300, $350. So maybe like $50 application is really high, but $300, $350. And if you're doing 20%, let's say you just sell $1,000, just $1,000. If you're selling $1,000, we'll just use nice even numbers. 20% of 1,000 is $200. So you're paying. Is that right?
Yeah.
$200. So you're paying you're paying $200 on top of the $25 table fee. So $225 for one day. One day, that feels a little steep. Most shows to that equivalent for one day, I would probably expect 75 to $100, maybe 150. It's a really good one day show.
Okay.
But I mean, there are benefits of selling. They got the central point of sale. You're doing your thing. You don't have to focus on all that other stuff. They're paying the sales tax for you. That's a big benefit. Especially if you're not familiar with paying sales tax, which there's a lot of students or people that don't sell at a lot of these shows, and a lot of shows in general don't really know that aspect of it. So it's really helpful for that.
Mhm.
But if you're a quote unquote like top seller, or you're, you know, historically a pretty good on above average revenue at that show, you're going to pay significantly higher in fees because your percentage is just that much higher, relatively. So, the best I've done at a show like this is like $2,600. I think I had this written down. Like $2,600.
Okay.
And
So you paid $520 in fees.
yeah, my gross was about 2,500. My fees was $490. So just shy of $500 plus a $25 table fee. So $515 to be there.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, it's been one I've done over the years, so it's a good show. What's the alternative? What is there another show that I could do that weekend, or another option? I don't know that it's a reason that I would stop doing the show because of it. I just think it feels like there should be
You don't
some
think it's
kind
fair?
of a. I'm not saying it's not fair. I just, because I am committed to it, because I signed up for that. I knew that's what the percentage is. It historically has been the exact same structure, but I think there should be some backstop, whether it's like a cap on how much you could collect that's still reasonable, because $500 feels excessive
Okay.
in that situation. And I mean, it's not like that was, I've historically been, I would say, probably top 5% of sellers at the show. And it just feels like there should be a cap of how much I'm going to be paying. Otherwise, it makes it tougher and tougher cutting into the profit margin of the work. And there's variables I can control. I can control what items I decide to sell there. Maybe I don't take things that are tighter profit margins, because 20% is going to put a bigger dent in those sales.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that I would say that's a good starting point for the discussion. Historically, I haven't felt that way either. I've just been thinking about it when somebody was like,
Everybody thinks about this at some point. And I'll
somebody
tell you,
was like,
always
you should renegotiate that. And I was like, that's just how it is. And then I'm like, wait, can you renegotiate that?
who said you should renegotiate? Well, I won't ask you that who, but
No, it was just a Facebook comment that was like, you need to renegotiate that. And I was like answering, that's just how the show works. That's how
yeah.
it's always worked. And I'm like, well, I don't know that that's really good. That's kind of like, it is the way it is. Like, is that a good excuse? It is the way it is because it's always been the way it is. Like, is there a reason you can't negotiate? Or there's not a reason to bring up the idea of, hey, can there be changes made? Has anybody asked? Why can't you ask?
I would. So, okay, if you cannot tell by my questions as opposed to my agreement, I am opposed to this. And
Opposed to what?
opposed to having a cap on like having a set price on a percentage sale. And the reason being, well, there's a lot of reasons, but I have had this very same conversation with people that have made $6,000 to $8,000 at Leavenworth in a weekend and has to pay $3,000 or whatever. No, $1,000 in their as their fee. And it was always the photographers.
Yeah,
Always
they're paying $1,200, $1,200 on a $6,000 sales day or weekend.
Yes.
They're paying $1,200 in fees.
Sure. Yeah. So, here's what I will start with saying. I would venture to guess that it would be nice to have like somebody who does these kind of sales, kind of like talk with us just so that we can kind of confirm my suspicions or confirm your suspicions or whatever. But I would venture to guess that the amount being sold by the lesser selling individuals and the higher selling individuals average out to an amount that would be appropriate to run the show. And the reason that they do 20% across the board is to have that average out. I think that sometimes we forget that the person running the show is also running a business. And I mean, I don't think you forget that. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes we forget generally that the person running the show is running a business and they're not doing this show to be a nice person like they might be a nice person, but they are doing it to turn a profit. And having a cap makes sense if everybody's doing well, but if there's I don't know, let's say there's 50 artists and 5 of those artists are doing well, that's 10% is doing over $2,000.
Well, okay, like above average, like significantly above average.
Yeah, significantly above average. And maybe 50% is doing average, and then 40% is doing below average. Okay.
Well, yeah, the top 5 or 10% subsidize the bottom, like
exactly
10 to 15%.
So and that's why they do that. And you know what's funny is that this is very, and we're not going to get into politics, but this is very much a tax the rich type of situation going on. And
yeah, it felt like it when I was talking about it and thinking about it.
Yeah, but, like I yeah, it's like, oh, give us a tax break because we're making so much money. And
there's alternatives. I can just not be there. I can not be there, and then they miss out on that money.
Oh, for sure, 100%. But that's like, they're not. But think about all the labor that's going into packing up your shit, and all the bags that are going into bagging your stuff, and all the paper, and all the taxes. Like, they're losing things in the process of you checking out. They might not be losing a lot, but they're losing at least 10% of all of that stuff that you're selling, right?
They're losing 10%.
Well,
like the square fees and the
materials, square fees, labor cost. There is a percentage of that goes straight out the window because they have to pay their employees. They have to they have to pay the taxes. They've got to pay the fees. They have to get an accountant to pay the taxes. Like, if you want to go all the way down to the end of that. And I do think that it is fair to have everybody pay their just flat 20%, even if they're making $5 billion. But if you are, and it's one of those things that if you're making that much money, and you're in this tiny ass show and you're doing like so much better than everybody else, then maybe it's time for you to maybe it is time for you to move on and go to a show that fits your like work better, And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that because this, especially like one show that I know you do, you're part of the community, so it makes sense. But I just think that you know, essentially at the end of the day, just suck it up, Buttercup. That's how I feel. Um,
What would be, I get it, it's not in their best interest at all to change and put a cap on it because it's limiting their profit. It doesn't help anybody besides me
yeah,
and the other people that are at the top of the
the
sales.
food, yeah,
And it might also incentivize people that are top sellers to come into the show that have historically not been in the show. So it could actually offset and provide more, I'm going to say quality, but it might incentivize more high sellers, and it might improve the quality of the artists and the show as a whole by having more high sellers there. Potentially. That would be one reason why it would maybe, but they wouldn't know that until they would try it, or they'd have to make the change and see if it affects it.
Do you think that the point of this show is to have super high quality sellers or to let people in the community sell?
I think it's more for the people that don't sell the opportunity to sell, but I think it can elevate the show by having a bigger variety of artists that aren't part of the immediate community that are selling there already. Like, doesn't, like, what is a reason to have a show have new people? They want to attract visitors and feel like, hey, there's something new here when I go to the show. It doesn't feel like a rinse and repeat of last year. Some of that's going to be people are
Mhm.
making new stuff, but I think you always want to be attracting new artists to benefit the quality of the show.
Okay.
Don't you?
Um,
Do you not?
it depends. It depends. It very much depends. And I think that you're not thinking about, I mean, you are, but you aren't thinking about the, like you said previously, it is for the people that don't sell as much. Like, okay, let's just name a show that we know that is for the people that don't sell as much, right? The like not Leavenworth. Leavenworth is not that, okay? Leavenworth is purely like I know for a fact that at Leavenworth, if we didn't have the photographers, we wouldn't be like they wouldn't be able to actually
Do the
continue.
show.
Okay.
So they
They,
do need the high sellers.
they do. They have to have the high sellers or else they don't function. So because
How do
they're
they keep them
paying
though? Because they could walk off, right? They could leave.
yeah, but it's such a fucking good deal. You get 2 booths and a weekend and it's a steady gig in a tourist town.
That's true. I mean, it's a balance, right? Are they? What's their opportunity? What's their other opportunities? Like, what's their alternative? If there's not
Their
enough
alternative,
alternatives,
their alternative is to apply to shows, maybe get in, maybe don't, and not as steady an income. I mean, like some of those photographers made $60,000 just in between May and October.
mm-hmm.
You know, they literally made all of their money for the entire year in that show. And yeah, it was worth it to them to, you know,
They're still going to complain about the percentage, but I mean, there's always ways that they can feel like it could be improved
of course. Yeah,
from their side of the dollars and cents. Their business, like it's cost of doing business for them, and they've
right.
decided it's worth it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, you know, they don't have to pay the studio, they don't have to pay the application fees, they don't have to pay they don't have to pay to drive to Kansas. They don't have to
Mm-hmm.
pay to, you know, like, because those type of photographers, they're paying to go to like these big ass shows that are $1,000 for a booth, you know, and for them to get a $25 booth and a 20% cut is like a freaking dream. So I think that like
Well, yeah, they're cheaper on the front end for sure, and then they don't have to pay their cut until they actually have the sales to back it up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that percent. I mean, that's kind of like the Etsy percentage. The Etsy benefit is you pay nominal at the front end, and then you pay on the back end when the sales happen. So, I mean, there's obviously a benefit and a draw to that.
Yeah. So why are you so okay with Etsy and their percentage and not okay with
You act like I'm so definitive on one side. I'm not. I'm just posing the question of like,
I
is
know,
there a
but this
tipping
is like the
point?
one time that I might be able to win an argument. You gotta like let me have this, Ryan.
I mean, and then one of my, you said, why are you so okay with Etsy? Um,
Versus like having one of these shows with like a 20%. I don't know the percentage.
the thing is,
It,
I don't even know. I don't know that there's even an opportunity for a difference. Like you see, um, I mean, you like, is it just not an option because it's not been brought up, or is it like, it's been the same structure for 7 years? Like, has the sales improved over the years that they can change? Like, do they have more? I mean, I guess some of it is it stays the same because prices increase on the items, which means more sales. If you get the same amount of sales, staff
right.
costs are obviously going to increase over the years with inflation, hopefully. Maybe you provide more staff to help with checkout. Material, like cost of materials, I don't think that probably changes significantly.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on what type of materials you're buying. Like,
Bags and newsprint, like that kind of stuff doesn't, when you're buying in such high volume, like I don't think that's really fluctuating that much year to year.
yeah.
Maybe like 2% or something.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think it's up for discussion. I don't know what do you think what would be a reason, what is your best reason that you think they would, like, what is your best argument for your reason that you think I would need to defend or counter?
Um,
Let's say
probably like
I'm going to them with a point of discussion. Hey, have you ever thought about adjusting the commission fees? Is there any fluctuation there? What's your best argument for?
probably well, you know, we base the commission fees knowing that there would be some people that are high, some people that are low, and this averages out to make it the most affordable that it can be for everybody to attend. And with that attendance, you run the risk of having a higher fee due to, even though it's not actually higher because it's 20%, but you run the risk if you sell well, but that means that the little guy can come into the show and sell like he's never sold before, and maybe he doesn't do well and he doesn't have to pay a ton, even though it's still the same percentage. But um yeah, that's probably what I would say. And
Okay.
I think that I would counter and say, if, ugh, oh my gosh, the pickles are really hard to get open. If you wanted to do a cap on the fee, we could just,
What if it wasn't a cap? I think there's options that aren't the cap, actually.
what are the options that aren't the cap?
You tier it. Maybe you say anybody that sells over $1,000, you change the percentage from 20% to 10%. So let's say you
Okay.
sold $2,000, the first thousand, or you just pay a flat 10% on $2,000 because you're over that threshold. So
I'm going to
2,000
clarify something
times,
first. This does not include tax, right? That 10% doesn't include tax, right? They're taking
the
the
10%.
20% pre-tax, right?
Yeah. They're
Okay.
collecting the tax after the fact and paying it after, like that's on top of everything. So
Okay.
Yeah, so the 2,000 is after tax, the after sales tax,
Okay.
or however you do it, before sales tax. The sales tax is paid. So that would be at 10%, you would be paying $200 for 2,000 rather than $400 because you're in that threshold. But if you sold 999, or well, let's just say 900 because that's not a weird number. You would pay 180 if you sold $900 worth because you're under that threshold of where that delineator is.
Okay.
Or the other option, which most places do, is they charge a flat fee for the booth.
Yeah.
So you have a higher flat fee. So maybe the booth instead, and this could be an option. Like you could say, I would prefer to do a $25 table plus 80/20 cut, or I would rather pay a $300 booth fee up front.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the cap is kind of the other option where you'd say, we cap it at, you're never going to pay more commission than $250, for instance.
Okay.
80/20 cap of $250.
Hello, this is Beatrice Potter. I am just popping in to let you know that you can get speedball underglazes and even the new mid-fire glazes. They are beautiful. So beautiful. I might be getting some myself. I hear that you can get them on speedballart.com. I heard my friend say a little jingle the other day that helps me remember. Are you ready? SPEEDBALL, speedball. Make sure you go and find your speedball underglazes and mid-fire glazes. They've got a whole new set of colors.
I would suspect which would be most beneficial to them, because I'm curious how many people would, and you kind of like said, you choose what you want to, I don't know, you choose, if you want to pay the booth fee up front, logistics wise, it's harder for them because they gotta have two different points of sale. You either buy this or you buy this.
Right.
Or, okay, everybody that sells over this amount, you cut them a check at this percentage. Even if it's not 10%, if it's 15%, say, okay, it's 15% if you sell over, like 10% is a big jump. That's a big difference. But, instead of $200 at 10%, it's $300. So instead of $400, I pay $300. That still feels like a good chunk. But not as bad.
What was the highest amount that you paid for a show this year?
So far,
Yeah.
probably. Actually, I'm gonna pull this up. Actually, I don't think my high show is paid yet, but Woodland Art Fair, $435 with a corner booth.
And how much did you make?
I haven't sold at it yet.
Oh, how much did you make last year?
Oh, I think 6,000 maybe.
Okay. So what percentage is that?
6,500. I didn't pay for a corner booth last year, but so let's say 375. I think I paid because I'm adding $50 on top of it this year for a corner. So 6,500 or what? 375 divided by 6,500.
Mm-hmm.
6%.
6%?
Yeah. Application fee $35 maybe.
Okay.
So 400 of 6,000.
Okay.
400 of 65. 400 divided by 6,500. 6%. Yeah.
At the shows that are at
And
the
that's
show,
that's a standard show. That's one that I'm setting up my own booth, my own tent,
right.
doing the point of sale. I'm paying the sales tax after the fact. I'm paying a booth fee, application fee. I'm waiting, and it's a 2 day, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And how long does it take you to set up for something like Woodland as opposed to the 20% show?
Do you include travel time?
No. Don't include travel time.
Okay. Woodland probably two 2 hours, 2.5 hours versus 45 minutes.
Okay. And does the 20% show give you a table or do you have to bring a table?
They give me a table and I got to put everything on it.
Okay. Does it have a tablecloth and everything?
No, I do that.
You do the tablecloth. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I also have that 20%. I also have to volunteer, do a task. I have to work a checkout register for an hour.
an hour?
An hour, yeah. So I'm away
Jesus,
from my table for an hour.
that is such a sacrifice. Um
No, it is like I could be selling more if I was at my table, but it is
okay.
part of the expectations of what's required. So
It is
it's not that bad. It's
No,
not that
it's
bad. It's not that bad.
it could be 8 hours.
Well, it could. I mean, it could. Yeah, I mean, there's other alternatives. Like I could clean up the week or the week of, or I can clean up after the show.
Right.
But that's the easiest thing for me to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like I still am not swayed by taking the
I'm
20.
not trying to sway you.
I know, but still, like, even like talking about those, it's like 45 minutes versus 2.5 hours. You're setting up a tent, you're bringing the tent, you're like doing all of this stuff that you don't, and like all of that time.
I've set up a tent at one of these shows before. That's a percentage.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
When it's outdoors, I've done that.
Yeah. Okay.
This one just happens to be indoors.
Yeah, this one just happens to be indoors. And like, I mean, at Leavenworth, I did a bunch of shit, so it's kind of like the thing that we talk about with wholesale versus selling at a show. Like, do you make more money wholesaling versus going to a show? And like, the advertisements, the fucking, and I know that regular shows, they do advertisements and shit like that. I get it. So that kind of washes out. But like, them providing a table, them setting up the table beforehand, them like cleaning the space that the space is going to be in, all of that stuff adds up little by little, especially like them hiring somebody to oversee all of that stuff that I'm sure they're getting paid a fair amount. I don't know, they might not be. But
yeah, they have staff that's dedicated to, hey, you're in charge of this event.
Right.
And dealing with artist communications, like all that stuff adds up for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know how you feel about this or not, but I don't feel like I've been to almost any show that takes a 20% cut that isn't like super popular. Like they have a reputation and they have like a
yeah, I mean it's definitely not a show that I'm dipping out on. Like there's a reason I keep doing it.
Sure.
I've done it for years. Like, and it's not like I'm gonna die on this hill of I'm never gonna pay more than 20% again. It's just it's a discussion point of like some people run into these shows. Some people have shows where they pay a booth fee plus a percentage and they handle all the point of sale. Like,
yeah, see, I'm not okay with that. I'm not that. I'm definitely not
when
okay
you're
with.
doing like what are they doing to earn that percentage?
Right.
Just by putting the event on and advertising it digitally. Like, okay, like I don't like. At least they are giving me the check after the fact. I don't like the I've got the money in my pocket and I've got to give money out of my pocket to you
I
after the
hate
fact.
that.
I
I
don't
hate
like
that.
that because I mean, it feels like that's basically what paying taxes feels like. Like I've already got this money and I've got to give you this money.
Yeah, I used to
Um,
do a farmer's market that they would come around and take a percentage from every food vendor. And I was like, that's such bullshit. And not only that, but it breeds dishonesty. It's just like, oh, you want a percentage?
yeah,
Well, I only
yeah,
made
because
this much.
you're gonna fudge
Like,
your numbers. Yeah, you're not gonna report those cash sales. Especially
no,
when you're handing cash over, like you've got to give them cash, or else they're gonna walk around with a point of sale to be like, okay, we're gonna charge you a percentage. How much did you sell?
yeah.
What like yeah, I don't like I said, it's not a reason I'm gonna stop doing the show because of it.
All right, yeah,
Um
right.
it's I'm and I hope it doesn't get taken the wrong way. I hope that it's approached as, hey, this is a point of discussion that I'm curious about.
Oh, I
What
don't think it will. I mean,
and
I don't think
and
it will.
I want to, I want to make sure that like I don't know like to be the opposite side of it, like what is their reason that they would want to what's their incentive to make me happy in that situation? Like why would they want to compromise on it?
I don't know. They would.
There's
Like,
no reason for them to compromise.
I think the compromise would them changing the whole structure of the show, because I don't think that you can do a choose one or the other type situation. It doesn't work well, you know?
Could they? I guess they would have to run the numbers. They would have to be like, okay, this is how much we made from this show.
Yeah.
Let's say it's around like $50,000. This is what we made last year. If we did this structure of what we always done, this is how much we would have walked away with. If we did this structure of, I see, I don't know. You can't really apples to apples compare it because you're assuming that you don't have any different artists in there and the sales are the exact same.
Yeah.
Um, when there's an incentive there to get to a certain number, how many people are going to be motivated by that? How many people are not? Some are just going to do the same thing regardless.
Well, some
Um,
people can't, some people like
but
couldn't
yeah,
change
yeah,
too.
most people are not sellers. Most people are happy to be there selling. They don't do a lot of sales. They're just happy with whatever sells to, free up space on their shelves or whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
If I think, here's what I think. If they were in it just for the money, I think that there could be a discussion. But in this particular, like a in a case where it's community based, I think that there's no discussion, because that means that if you're A, changing it to a set price, or B, well, I don't know what B is. But anyway, um then like the little guys won't be able to do it, you know?
why not? Why not?
Like if it was a
Why
set
why
price.
would a set price? I'm talking about a percentage. I don't know what would be the easiest for them. I think the easiest next step if they were to meet somewhere would be have a threshold and say we change it from 20% to 15%.
At
I
15.
suspect that would
Yeah.
probably limit the amount of loss they would have because if they did a flat fee, it would keep people out. I agree. Um, and logistically, I don't think it makes sense to offer two options, at least not initially. Maybe it's, and I don't want to have to feel like I'm asking for an exception. I want it to feel like, hey, I'm like, there are people that are impacted by this besides me, and there could be other people that are attracted to the show because of this change. Like, I think there could be other people that want to do the show or come back to the show because they're like, hey, it's more worth it for me than it has
Okay,
before. But
I
but
see
also
that.
like there's not that many people outside of the studio that are doing the show. So I'm kind of an
Right.
anomaly.
I also see that, but also if like I don't know, if word gets around and people find out that they're cutting prices for people that make more money, then people that are going to make more money are going to do the show, and then they push out the little guys. You know?
Why do they push them out?
Well, there's got to be a cap of how many people can do the show.
But okay, the other thing is they don't allow people from outside. They give the people that are in the studio preference of getting a table first.
Oh, you didn't say that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't relevant until now.
Okay, well, I detract my statement.
So there would be it would be like a timing thing of like first come first serve.
Okay.
You know,
In the studio and then outside.
right? Yeah. So everybody that's kind of a student or historically is the little guy in this situation still has an opportunity to sell if they want. And I mean the other option there is having more because the show has grown over the years because of availability of the space. Like there's more space to actually have
Yeah.
more booths and stuff. So like they could have more booths, but some of the drawback of there is if we make the same amount of money, you have more booths, everybody gets a little less money. That's like an argument. I don't know that I fully agree with that is going to happen, but that's a possibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those averages drop down a little bit. Everybody makes a little bit less on average, but you still probably have the people at the top there that are probably making a high percentage. But I understand the reason of like, hey, the people at the top are I'm going to say subsidizing probably, for every person in the top five, they're probably subsidizing, five people or something,
Right.
Not that it's like we wouldn't do the show if we didn't have this amount of sales. It's just like historically, this is how much we've sold. This is where we're at. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things I could do too. Like I mentioned earlier, I can have kind of like wholesale, right? You only choose to wholesale certain things that are most profitable that you can wholesale.
Mm-hmm.
I could not have any carved work at the show, right? Those are the highest priced items.
Right.
Those, maybe a mug or a bottle that's $58. I'm walking away with $46 for it.
Right.
Can I make enough money at $46 on that bottle? I haven't historically looked at it that granularly, like, ooh, how much am I actually walking away with? Or I could increase my prices by 10% on those items to kind of counteract that. Or 20% if I really wanted to, but I don't really think that's realistic, but some people do that. Some people that consign, they change their prices. Like they're like, oh, well, if I'm going to consign, I'm going to up my price for the
That
shop
seems
so that
kind
it
of
doesn't hit,
shisty to me.
so it doesn't hit me as bad, you know?
Yeah, that seems kind of shisty.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. Because you see somebody at the show that week and then you see them next week at the show and it's dropped 10 or 20%. You're like, what? What? And then your explanation is, oh, well, they take a cut, so I want to save myself.
Right.
I mean, I think that's kind of the only variable that I can control. Let's say that everything stays the same. I take fewer of those pieces and I up my price by a couple bucks
Yeah.
on some pieces. But yeah, I don't know what I expect. So I did I did send an email. We'll see what comes back. I hope that I don't just get a big middle finger back, but
I don't think you will.
I
I
don't I
mean,
don't expect that there's going to be hostility or anything. I think there's probably we understand that this is kind of how you're feeling. We appreciate you being here. Like this is how we do it, and this is why we do it this way. This is what
yeah.
this covers. And we'd love to have you come. I mean, I don't know that I'll get that, but we'll love to have you come back. Like, um, but that's kind of Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, most of those shows that do that kind of percentages aren't. Some of them are like newer shows that they have to offset it somehow. Um, I don't know. Some of the structures of hearing about some different shows that have weird cost structures for tables and stuff instead of the like flat fees. It's strange how some of them organize their fees.
Mm, yeah, it is.
I mean, usually you're used to a application fee and a booth fee, and that's it. This is what you
Yep.
get, rather than like, have you seen those ones where you have to sell tickets, where it's like you get a booth, we'll give you a free booth, but you have to sell these tickets.
That
Um,
sounds like
you're
a scam.
like you're required to sell these 10 tickets or something. Um, or maybe you pay a fee, but if you sell the tickets, you don't pay the fee or something. So like you're helping get people to the show because they don't have enough of an audience already to come to the show.
Yeah.
I've seen some of those shows. Not a fan.
Yeah, that just seems like a scam to me. And like I would run as fast as I fucking could.
Yes. All right. Anything on that before you want to answer a listener question? We've got 20 minutes.
20 minutes. No, I feel like we've gone back and forth enough. I'm sure everybody is just gonna be thinking about this while they're sleeping tonight. Just over and over and over.
Uh, It was funny. The last thing I was telling Rachel this, and she was like, "No, why would you do that? Why would you say that? No, you just got to deal with it." And I'm like, some people, I feel like some people are willing to say, "Oh, like that's negotiable," and some people are like, "That's not negotiable at all. You should never negotiate that or whatever." And I'm like, "Why not?"
I'm kind of, well, okay, I'm kind of on her side on this. Like, it seems so, it just seems like something my mom would do to be like, hmm, I'm questioning that, you know? And it just feels icky, you know? And,
Does it feel like I'm like trying to cheat them or something? Like I'm
no,
or I'm
but
like
it,
not grateful
no,
or not valuing the show or something by asking?
no, I don't know. It feels like it feels like you're like, this is not how it came across, but this is how it feels. I want to make sure that I say this because I'm fully aware
Hey,
that
I've thought the same thing that you're probably about to say. So,
yeah, it like it feels like you're better than everybody else, and I deserve a break because I'm fucking better than everybody else. And I know that's not how you feel because I know you,
hmm
and that's definitely not you. Um, so
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I thought that of, and I said this to Becca when I mentioned this. I was like, would you feel differently if you were in that top 5% of sellers? And what did you say?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh
what
no,
did you say to that?
I take my money.
You
Fucking
said
take.
no. Yeah, yeah. You were like, no, I wouldn't feel any different. So it's not to you. It's not a gray issue of like, if I was in that situation, I would feel differently. It's just,
No,
hey, it's very like, this is how I feel about it. That's what you sign up for.
now I
And
will say
there's
maybe
no gray.
like 5 years ago I might feel differently, but not now. And I think that weirdly enough, I think that this has to do with my like thoughts on taxes as well. Like I used to try and find every single uh I used to like buy things at the end of the year because I wanted to have more like deduction.
Less taxable income. Yeah. Lower
Yeah,
taxable
and
income.
now I'm just like, you know what? I think it's cheaper for me to just pay the fucking money. You know? I don't have a bunch of shit in my life. I'm not buying things I don't need. Like,
hmm
and I didn't think that way 5 years ago. I thought very much that I needed to just get all the shit and never pay any taxes. And now I'm just like, you know what? Just take the fucking money.
I mean, at the end of the day, the burden is on me. If I want to have an if I want to do something better, I can walk. I can walk. I can go elsewhere and find a better option.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
but
there's
an important discussion to have because I mean, I've had that discussion with people multiple times. Like not once, not twice, probably 20 times with different people, you know?
did any perspective ever budge them? Or, I mean, maybe you're not intending to budge them, but you're just trying to explain like, hey, this is how much work's involved, or this is why they do it. Like,
I think that the discussions were mostly with photographer men's and I was just listening because there's no word in edgewise there.
well, I mean, I do think it's always going to feel a certain way when you're impacted by it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to be happy about it, but it still, I don't know, you still want to feel heard, I guess, that
I remember
there's,
when I had like my best weekend at Leavenworth and it was like the way that we thought wasn't, oh, I made $6,000. It was like my totals at $6,000 today. It was, hey, I made $4,200 because the other
yeah, because
part,
yeah.
you know. So my goal was always post fee.
Right. You were just
So
building it in to expect the
yeah,
fee.
and you just kind of build it into the costs essentially. And I remember like the biggest weekend I had, I was like, I want to get to this number so that I can have this number, you know? It was like
Mhm.
really exciting.
I mean, it does reflect on taxes a lot because you look at how much you take home and then you look at how much you pay in taxes and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But at least in this situation, the other side of it that's taking the money, you're directly seeing what they're doing with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and you feel a sense of like, appreciation of what they're doing and the space that they're, allowing to have the show. The alternative was to not have the show. Like, okay, like I get it. Yeah.
I think of that way. I think of this also when I um sometimes do workshops and specifically like ones that are 50-50 cut. Like a lot of people are like, how could you do that? How could you pay 50%? And I'm like, bro, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And I'm supporting somebody that is also a small business, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I might be like a overly optimistic person in that regard, but I think that as I grow older, I'll probably never be upset about giving money to somebody that's a small business. So
Hmm.
now I might not choose to do certain things because of certain percentages, but if I
Yeah,
choose
I mean,
it, I'm not going to
yeah.
be upset about it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's like, am I coming across like I'm basically asking for a negotiation, like I'm haggling, like somebody haggling at my booth? Is that how feels? Or,
I don't know.
It can come across that way, I'm sure.
Sure, it could.
Um,
It will, but like if they
yeah,
didn't know you at all, maybe.
yeah. But that's where we're at.
Okay, let's read the we have 10 minutes to talk about,
Question. All right, do you see it or do you want me to read it? I got it pulled up too.
and then let's just add in the thing that we forgot.
Yes, good point. Okay, so this is kind of a partial review and question. So it reads, "Hello there, Ryan and Becca. I'm coming fresh off my second real in-person show, my first outdoor one, complete with a real honest-to-God tent and booth setup, and I feel like I owe a lot of my success over the weekend to this podcast. I started out at the very beginning and eventually caught up to modern times and have kind of let it be on the instruction manual for how to start my own studio practice, how to begin earning money off my work, the importance of tent weights, taking Ryan's bookkeeping workshop to keep my disorganized mess contained, and how to set up and run my booth during a show. sales techniques, pricing strategies. Tim C's episode helped with that one. However, I was content to listen and soak it all up like a happy little sponge. Till now, never really thought of any questions that might be beneficial to ask that other listeners might gain some knowledge from. So my question is, do you have any practices for when you come home from a show and everything is soaked? It rained the entire show from setup to loadout. My boxes, waxed cardboard, produce style bins are soggy. My tent walls and roof are dripping. My wood shelves and mug display made of cedar fence planks are quite damp. My basement smells like a wet barn. And I'm beginning to think it's never going to stop raining here in Cincinnati for me to take everything out and let it dry.
They were at your show.
They were at the exact same show I was at, the Spring Pottery Fair. So, I have just spent some. I have tent walls hanging from the rafters. Oh, hold on. Right now, everything is laid out in my basement. But I think I skipped something else. How would you? Oh, how would you dry all of this out? Also, how would you manage keeping everything as dry as possible during the setup and teardown, and and transport, I guess, to allow the airflow? Oh shit, I'm missing the lines here. And tear down of your booth. Right now, everything is laid out in my basement studio and taking over to allow for airflow. I have tent walls hanging from the rafters, my tent partially open with fans running to circulate airflow. I just spent so much money on this tent. The last thing I want is to ruin it with mildew. Is there a better way? Is there a better way? I feel like between Ryan doing so many shows and Becca starting her own show journey in the Northwest region, your expertise might be quite helpful. Thank you for what you do. Keep up the good work. I love the show and your sometimes nonsensical banter. Thank you so much, Lizzie. Lifer_studios on Instagram.
So what did you do with this specific show?
It was raining pretty much throughout. I took to keep my stuff semi-covered and sealed during the setup and everything when it was raining. I just took a tent wall and draped it over my boxes that were prone to getting wet. Got the tent set up, got everything under the tent, and kept everything under the tent as much as possible. All of my bins for my work are plastic except for a couple. Everything in contact with the concrete is plastic, so none of that absorption, water damage with the boxes and everything is going to matter because the plastic, I stacked those cardboard things on top of the plastic, so that's a helpful thing no matter where you're at. Like if you expect like, oh, the water's flowing downhill somewhere else, like there's still a chance it's going to get wet. So that's what I did during the show. And then after the show tear down, I took the tent down last, got everything in bins, covered the bins up, pulled the car up, and kind of took the tent down last quickly and got it in the vehicle. And then afterwards, I have like a patio and stuff. So I opened my tent on my patio that's covered in the back. It has an awning and everything. And I opened it up for 2 or 3 days in the backyard.
Yeah.
To let it dry out. I mean, sun's your friend here. I get it. It was very rainy those weeks. So there wasn't a lot of sun to, you open the tent up and then you got to go back and forth and hope that it's not going to get rained on while you're trying to dry it out and there's a pop-up shower or whatever. So, and some people don't have like big yards or something like that they can like open it up in their driveway or their apartment parking lot or whatever. So you're kind of stuck to do what you can. Definitely want to open it up though, so you got some airflow to dry everything out. You got the right idea there. Did you ever drape your tent walls or anything inside your house or studio?
Oh man, how many times has my tent been wet? Um, so many. The answer is so many. Yeah, so I don't remember specifically, but I'm pretty positive I've left my tent up an entire week while it was raining. and just left it there.
in the yard. Did you extend it all the way so it was like good
Yeah.
structurally, or did you just let it sag and?
No, structured, short and structured, and
Okay, so
tied down to a fence, so it
okay,
won't.
yeah, definitely weighted if you're gonna.
Yeah, and I think that it's so like if you're stuck in a situation where it's going to be raining for the rest of the world to endure, like it's like just raining, raining, raining. Honestly, it won't get mildewy in 1 week, but like you can just open it up a little, or
Mhm.
drape it over a fence or something like that. Like it would almost be better to just leave your fucking tent open all week long. And once you get like a nice day, just close it up really quick and put it away. You can also spray it down with mildew stuff too. Like you can let it get mildewy and just like treat it. But I don't, if you're doing like week after week after week, the likelihood of it getting mildewy in 1 week is pretty low. Um,
Yeah,
but
definitely. I like had my car packed up, and I think I had a show the week after, but I still wanted to take that out of the car. Like, you don't want to take a
yeah,
tent that was rained on, shoved it all together in the case, shove it in the car, and leave it in the car for a week until your next show. Definitely
and
don't do
that's
that.
another thing. I never put my thing in a case. So that's another thing. Um, I'm not really like the cases that my tents came in were fucking garbage. So I never put them in the case. And also, I typically oh yeah, towards the end of shows, I would take the whole tent down. I would take the whole top off and everything. So,
Mm.
um take the top off, fold it up, and then I would unfold it if it got rainy and just kind of like let it dry out. A dehumidifier in a room is a smart move if you got something like that going on. Um, putting it like in a garage is a really good idea. Clothesline, something like that.
I've done that in the garage. Yeah, like the draping it. We've draped the. I wouldn't throw the tent walls in like a dryer. I would drape those. But I've thrown
Yeah.
tablecloths in the dryer or washed them. I think I've washed them and then I'd drape them in the house like over dining room chairs or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta get creative. But if it's gonna be raining for the rest of your life and you have a show the next week, I would just leave it out, honestly. I mean,
Yeah, leave it
like,
out, make sure it's
and
not
if
gonna
you
blow
don't have a
away.
garage, right? Like, if you have a garage and a car in the garage, pull out that car, put the tent
Oh
in the
yeah,
car in
definitely.
the garage. But
Yeah.
like where we live, there's not a lot of garages, so
Would you open it in the house? If you had enough space in the house, would you open it
no,
for airflow?
no,
Garage,
absolutely not.
patio, maybe backyard. Yeah, just open it up. I mean, if you live in like an apartment complex, it'd be kind of difficult. I don't know if it would benefit to open it for an hour or two while you're sitting outside. But if
Yeah.
hopefully it's an okay
I
day.
think at
But
that point, if you lived in an apartment complex, you would need to take the top off. Just take the whole top of the tent off. And
ooh, that's a good idea.
I literally just said that, Ryan.
Oh, I thought you. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Like I would not ever pack up the top, so I would just take it off and put it over a fence. Um,
Hmm.
because the tents they felt folded up really nicely if you just take the tops off. Um, but yeah, I would take the top off and just drape it over porch, out the window, in something. I don't know. I mean, like you never know in an apartment
If
situation.
if yeah, if you're doing a 2 day show, I've seen people do this. Usually on day two, everybody takes their sides off and they don't need them for the second day. They drape them out in the lawn
Oh
or they
yeah,
drape
hundred
them over
percent.
a fence and people just let them
Yeah,
dry out and then they go pick them
yeah,
up later in the day so that they can,
yeah.
take them home dry or drier.
Fucking rough, man. And also the cardboard box situation. You get your cardboard boxes wet enough and you move to plastic real quick.
Yeah, I've still got a banana box that I use for oil bottles, which is pretty solid. But I do have one of the other boxes, and it got a little wet from that show, and it was a little iffy afterwards. So
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, how many times have I like run to my van to put all of my boxes in my van? Or put all my boxes on top of the table? Like, oh God.
And then the shelving situation. I mean, the only other thing with shelving situation is try to keep your shelves far enough in. I did have sidewalls on this show, so I had a wall on two sides of it. So I was like tucked up against the sidewall to keep
Yeah.
me dry, so it's not dripping down my back the whole time, and it's also not getting on the pots or the shelving or whatever. Yeah, just you'll get used to where you want to position your tables and your shelving so that it's not
Yeah.
as high potential for getting just straight rained on. Because
And
if
you have
the
to
wood's
remind
not sealed,
yourself. Yeah. And you have to remind yourself it could be worse. You could not have something that is waterproof. So,
that's true. Yep.
yeah.
All right. There's one other thing that I thought of. Thank you for that question, Lizzie. There was one other thing that I thought of that was related to the old thing.
Okay.
That I forgot that was a show that was different. The pottery tour is different. They have a flat fee, and then they have a central checkout, but they just do the processing fee. I think they do the processing fee, they pay the sales tax, and then they give you a check. And then there may be like a small percent. There may be a small hosting percentage or something, but it's nominal. So they do have a little different situation, but it's a way lower percentage. That's the only other one that's different that has a central checkout that I've done. More like your Leavenworth situation.
Mm-hmm.
But
A lot, man. It's a lot.
all right. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this
We
episode.
did it. We
did it.
fucking did it.
Yep. I had to sneak that in.
So
I saw like
us.
2 minutes left, and I'm like, I'm gonna get this last bit in.
I'm so proud of us. Bruh, it's like 79 degrees right now. 75. It's 75 degrees. I'm broken. I went to Colorado and I was chilly. I was cold. It was 60 degrees and I was cold.
So wait, are you
And
saying it's 75? Are you cold right now? Or are you
I'm-
it's so humid that you're hot?
I'm doing great. I feel very comfortable.
Nice.
Maybe I didn't even need to buy this AC. That's not true. I'm gonna need it.
No, you'll need it. Give it a couple weeks.
Yeah. I still need to drill the holes. Anyway, okay, this has been great. My phone's about to die, but I'm gonna read Art and Fear tonight, maybe, potentially not, but maybe. And well, at least I'll have it for notes.
Yeah, y'all will hear about it next week.
Next week. Yeah.
And then we'll probably maybe announce the next book.
Yeah. And also we're gonna do a depression episode. That's the one that we nixed last week. We recorded it and then I decided it was maybe there was things that were said that I should not have said. So we're doing a take 2 with more.
Look out for that.
Look out for that. If you have depression, it's gonna be the place to be. I don't know if it will or not.
I was gonna say, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I had Rachel listen and she was like, I don't know that I can make it through this.
Oh my God. She texted me and she was like, bro, I'm here if you need me. That was a rough night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're over by a minute. Any last words, Becca?
Any last words?
Did you learn anything from your father after 70 years that he shared at his birthday? Did you ask him something like, do you feel 70?
You know, I tried to ask him a lot of stuff. We did have a semi-good conversation about finances and politics, and not really the politics part, but the like the state of the world. And I do wish that he shared stories more because he's got good stories. Um, and I was trying to get him to talk as much, but my family is a lot of talkers. None of them will hear this, so it's fine. The only person that may hear this is Betsy, and she's not the talker. She knows that. So I was trying to ask him a bunch of questions while I was back. He gave me one of his shirts. That was kind of cool. I didn't bring a sweatshirt, so I stole one of his shirts. And so now I have it at work, and that's my in front of the AC shirt. I think that what I will say is that because your parents aren't 70 yet, they're younger, right?
My parent, yeah, 65. My mom just turned 65.
Yeah. So I think that
Which I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe 65. Wow.
Yeah, I think that and Heidi will attest to this too, is that when your parents get older, they just get so much stinking cuter. And they, I don't know what it is, but my dad is so cute right now. And
in his cute phase.
He's in his cute phase. He is just and he gets so grumpy and moody and he's just like a little kid, you know? And also, it should be noted that we didn't find out that my dad was autistic until later in life. He's still not diagnosed autistic, but if that man isn't autistic, I would be very surprised. And he has all these quirks and all these things that he does that bugs my mom so crazy, but it's so stinking cute if you're on the outside looking in. And my family, and we don't talk about my family very much on the podcast, but my family's very weird. Okay, very fucking weird. and um and my dad, when I was growing up, he watched the channel and he loves history. And he would take his pens and he would pretend that they were airplanes and he would ride them around while he was watching the channel, usually World War II, and he'd be like, zoom, zoom. And he would do all the noises for the planes and I would just sit. We had a catwalk, kind of like your parents do. We had a catwalk, and I would sit at the edge and just kind of watch him doing that when I was growing up. And I don't know if I ever thought it was weird. I just it just makes so much sense now that I see him as an adult. And he's
Does he
just
still
a
do
weird...
stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Well, most of the time he just falls asleep, but
I wouldn't
whenever he
call
walks...
that weird. I would just be like, he's being him. He's doing his thing. That's just what he does.
Yeah. Well, and that's
you're saying to people that are outside would be like, why is your dad doing that?
Yeah, why is your dad doing that? And when he walks, he moves his hand a certain way because I'm sure he's doing calculations in his brain because he's incredibly intelligent. And so yeah, yeah, I don't know. Pretty cool. He's a pretty cool guy.
Nice.
So yeah.
Your spitting image of him when I saw your photo, I was like, that's Becca.
I know so many people said that, and I've never really thought it because I do kind of look like my mom a lot too. So, and I'm the same height as her, but I do have that kind of kid-like feature as he does. That weird smile,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Weirdos. Just the weirdo Otises.
Weird Otises.
Weird
All right.
Otises.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Yep. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Wheel Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.